staff redundancies. Now, we've spoken about this. Yeah. United expect the restructuring decisions will lead to savings of between 30 and 40 million per year. But does that cover their mistakes then?
Well, but mistakes, is it designed to cover their mistakes? The two things are not necessarily linked. They might make them linked because ultimately there's cost implications of running a football club. But realistically speaking, would they have made these savings? Are these cost savings designed to reduce the efficiency of the business in terms of what it achieves via these staff, or is it designed to stop the waste? Because they can be two different things. If the business can thrive without the cost implications of these people, why did they have them there in the first place? That's the first question. The second question is, what mistakes have they made in appointments? Well, everybody makes mistakes in appointments. The Ashworth one is a bit laughable, and the handing of Ten Hag, the one that I can never move past and find myself constantly stuck in situations. What in God's name were they thinking, giving Ten Hag an extension of his contract back in the summer? I can't. So maybe someone on the line will talk to someone like Radcliffe and explain their thinking. But it makes no sense to me. There was no need for it. Everybody could see that Ten Hag was struggling, and so to give him a contract extension, the fact he wasn't your man, I understood the review, and ultimately you wanted to have a review of what he was doing, and the media played it out as an awful indignation for Ten Hag, but you didn't employ him, and you're now the football intelligence, so you should have the opportunity to review it. But to give him an extension, and that extension has cost them more money, and they should be told how stupid they are. And the issue around Dan Ashworth, same as Graham Potter. I imagine Chelsea looked at the 20 million quid they paid Brian Potter to get him released from his managerial contract, which they then binned him, and they had to pay him another 2 years worth of money. Right. Every football club makes decisions, buys players, and recruits managers that make mistakes. The problem for Man United is that all of their mistakes off the field, economically, are manifesting themselves on the field in terms of people's judgments about everything they do. Right. Everything they do. So when they make a 250 redundancies, it would be a very good business case for it, and actually it makes sense in every other walk of life. The fact that your team stinks on the field will be conflated into the issue that you're making redundancies that actually need to be made because these people are no longer required in this business, and by the way, they've had it too good for too long.
Well, there's Andy in Manchester. Guys, I hear you talking about the club. Now, sackings, etc., part and parcel of running a football club. But how about you and Sammy concentrating how the Glazers' debt and interest payments have exceeded £1 billion? It is criminal that they were allowed to buy the club with debt.
But they were, so get over it. And at the same time,
You've actually applaud the Glazers' business acumen, don't you?
well, that's from a business. There's two parts of this conversation. From the business side of things, this was the deal of all deals for them. Yes, of course, because they're businessmen. On the football side of the club, from the football side of things, they've made bad football decisions. They haven't stopped Manchester United having enormous amounts of money available to them and spend as much money, if not more, than everybody else to achieve bugger all. They've made bad decisions there. But there's also an argument, and it's a factual argument. They've made bad decisions there, but there's also an argument, and it's a factual argument, that whatever they've cost Manchester United in dividends and interest payments, they have more than exceeded that in the level of incomes that they've been able to increase Man United commercially. Now, the Man United fans will then say, well, hang on, we should be able to have that additional revenue. Well, you can't have the Glazers on one hand able to be in a business that has afforded them the opportunity the way they wanted it, and then say the fact that they've been able to bridge the gap for what it cost people for them to have that business by commercial acumen should be a gimme anyway.
You see,
you either get them or you don't.
But I'm baffled as to why you think in any parallel universe it's a good thing to have the Glazers around the place.
I didn't say it was.
The club has paid more than £1 billion in interest payments on
Yes.
the debt the Glazers used to buy the club.
It's brilliant too. If you're the
That's a
Glazers,
brilliant deal.
if you're the Glazers,
For them.
but the Glazers are in the business of the Glazers. They're not in the business of Fred from Stratford. They're in the business of the Glazers. They bought a football club with everybody else's money. They serviced it to everybody else's money. They took dividends, and it's now worth 7-8 times what they bought that they didn't pay for in the first place. So it's a fantastic deal if you're a business person. It's given them enormous amounts of exposure on one of the world's biggest sporting propositions. It's cost them nothing to do it. They've earned money out of it, and now it's worth 7 times what they didn't pay for in the first place. So if you're a businessman, you're looking at it going, oh, well, chapeau, mate. And they preserved their routine declining. It's made not any difference to their financial landscape. So all of that in one conversation makes it a brilliant commercial deal.
In one conversation.
In a football conversation where we are occupying this particular conversation. No, it's not great for Man United. It's not great. Go look at the previous shareholders sold the business then. Go
this is not the first time that Singapore has had to confront tough external circumstances. We've done so repeatedly over the last 6 decades, and so we can draw confidence from what we've been through together. Consider the experiences of our pioneers, like Mr. Yao Zhong Kiang, who is 75 this year and a resident in UT. In our early years of nation building, he and his wife worked long hours in the canteen at the Tanjong Gao camp at Tuas. They put food on the table for the SAF as well as their own young sons at home. Times were tough, but they persevered. The never say die spirit lives on in the family. John Kiang's son, Joseph, forged his own path to become a naval engineer with the SAF. He endured long stints at sea to serve and defend our nation. Determined to improve his family's future, he pursued part-time studies and earned an engineering degree while juggling work and family responsibilities. His children are now entering adulthood at 17 and 22. They have grown up in a more affluent Singapore, but they too face their share of challenges. His daughter Jamie started at Singapore Polytechnic just as the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Her school went online and her daily activities were disrupted. But she did not let that get her down. She adapted and pushed forward, just as her father and grandfather had done before her. I met Jamie and some of her fellow youth leaders back in 2022 after we had battled COVID for 2.5 years. They were optimistic, resilient, and full of ideas about how they can contribute. Since then, Jamie has graduated from Singapore Poly as valedictorian. Today she is pursuing a bachelor's in integrative studies at SMU while leading a non-profit to empower and support youths in tech. She hopes to work in the philanthropic sector to make a greater impact after graduation. This is what the Singapore spirit is about. At every turn, we have chosen determination over despair, innovation over stagnation, and solidarity over division. Every generation has carved a path through its challenges and paved the way for the next generation to go even further. Budget 2025 sets out clear plans for us to continue this journey with confidence. It is a budget for the future, tackling immediate challenges while laying the groundwork for a stronger, more resilient tomorrow. It is a budget for all Singaporeans, because when Singapore thrives, every citizen benefits. Every Singaporean is supported from birth to old age, with more support given to those with less. No one is left behind. Importantly, this is a budget shaped together with all Singaporeans, advancing our Forward Singapore efforts to build the Singapore we want and empowering each of us to contribute towards our shared future. The road ahead will not be without challenges, but I am confident that our best days lie ahead of us. Together, we can keep Singapore an evergreen oasis of stability, hope, and opportunity for all. So let us move onward together for a better tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move. This will be a metropolis.
don't make it.
An archaeologist at the Department of Antiquities in Cyprus said of Sama's claims, the latest theory should be taken with a very large pinch of salt. Archaeologists only work with hard evidence. There are no evidence whatsoever to give credence to this hypothesis, and we have no intention of investigating it. Commenting on Sama's interpretation of the sonar results, Benny Pisa, a social anthropologist at Liverpool John Moores University in the UK, criticised his theories an unscientific approach. Selective interpretation is nothing more than the blinker reading of very ambiguous and unconvincing images, he said. Anyone with a critical eye can pick out these images that they're far too vague and uncertain to be regarded as compelling evidence for any man-made structures. The very foundation on which the hoax is based is completely bogus. According to his theory, Mr. Samast claims that the Mediterranean basin was flooded in a deluge around 9000 BC, which submerged a rectangular landmass he believes was Atlantis. The problem is, there is no evidence whatsoever for any large-scale flooding of the Mediterranean basin at that time. Not to be deterred, Samast organised a second expedition to the site in 2006, but results of the work were inconclusive. He returned to Cyprus in June 2011 to film a documentary in support of his Atlantis theory. He again had the backing of the Cyprus Tourism Organisation, as well as the History Channel, together with a number of private investors. However, Samast appears to have made no further discoveries at the supposed site of Atlantis, and nothing has been heard from him on the subject since 2013. New discoveries off Cyprus. However, the theory that ancient Atlantis may lie submerged in the waters of Cyprus does not seem to be dead yet. In April 2018, Cypriot newspaper The Cyprus Traveller announced that a chance discovery by a group of tourists had led a team of marine archaeologists to the location of Atlantis, off the coast of Paphos, a coastal city in southwest Cyprus. The team, led by archaeologist Marios Astio, used Luge cutting-edge sonar technology to scan the ocean bed. After further surveillance, deep ground radar and digital mapping, a team was sent to the ocean floor where they discovered an ancient statue of Aphrodite. After extensive analysis, Professor Kostas Anotos from Cyprus University's Department of Antiquities authenticated the relic and confirmed that the extraordinary find was the first artifact that categorically proved that the great and wonderful empire of Atlantis was located off the coast of Paphos. A large-scale operation to recover further artifacts and building remains was soon underway, with the Cyprus Tourism Organisation also planning to put out a tender for the building of a Paphos-based Atlantis museum. Marios Astio commented on these spectacular discoveries. Over the centuries, there's been heated debate over whether Atlantis was a mythical or historical location, with hundreds of archaeologists and geologists searching for its location. In fact, the reason I became a marine archaeologist was to try to discover the true location of Atlantis. Having completed my lifetime goal, I'm looking forward to enjoying an early retirement. He added, I was astounded when I heard that Astio and his team had discovered the location of the lost city of Atlantis, mainly because my great-grandmother always used to tell us Atlantis could be found at that exact spot in the ocean. No one listened to her, of course. It seemed the old bird was right. Marina Milona, a marketing and tourism officer at the Cyprus Tourism Organisation, added, it's been long rumoured that the lost city of Atlantis was located just off the coast of Cyprus, and we're delighted that this has been officially confirmed. The ruins of a 2,500-year-old lost ancient civilization were recently found in a lake in Kyrgyzstan. Some researchers believe that these ancient remains may include an ancient Armenian monastery where, according to legend, the body of St. Matthew, one of Jesus' disciples, and his many relics were buried. A number of Orthodox Christians have long believed that Matthew was finally laid to rest here long after his death. Since the 19th century, Russian scientists, archaeologists and researchers from the Kyrgyz Academy of Sciences have studied ancient relics around Issyk-Kul Hot Lake, one of the world's highest and deepest lakes, located in a valley in the high Central Asian mountains in the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. Issyk-Kul Lake is 113 miles long, up to 37 miles wide, and has an area of 2,408 square miles. It reaches 2,192 feet in depth. The lake was first mentioned by Chinese and Islamic mapmakers at the beginning of the 8th century. Archaeological finds from the site have included petroglyphs and 3,000-year-old nomadic burial mounds known as kurgans, early Christian monasteries and medieval cities. Fascination for researchers, as divers have been exploring its depths since as long ago as the 1860s. There was a significant rise in the water level of the lake at the end of the 14th century and the beginning of the 15th. As a result of this, the remains of various ancient cultures were submerged, including Bronze Age settlements, Saki Usuni burial mounds of the 1st century BC, medieval towns and settlements, and Turkic monuments. Since 1985, Professor Vladimir Flosky, Vice President of the Kyrgyz Academy of Sciences, has been directing underwater surveys and excavations at Issyk-Kul, and in 2010 he joined forces with National Geographic to explore the extraordinary history of the lake. In September 2013, scientists and archaeologists from National Geographic began investigations at the lake. The team chose the site due to its position at an important location along the legendary Silk Road, with routes running along its shores. In the past, innumerable traders, caravans and nomadic tribes and armies travelled along the 113-mile-long lake, leaving an extraordinary archaeological legacy behind. The Silk Road was an ancient trade route linking China with the West, along which goods and ideas were carried between the two great civilizations of Rome and China, and later between medieval European kingdoms and China. In the Middle Ages, the area surrounding the lake was fought over by two opposing lines of descendants from Genghis Khan, the Eastern Mongols and the city-dwelling Islamic Western Mongols. The legendary Western Mongol leader, Tamerlane, was said to have fought a battle over the lake region in the early 1400s, and there are medieval records of a palace built by the conqueror on the lake shore, Issyk-Kul. Some researchers believe it's the same structure as the 15th century palace near the town of Cholpon Ata, described by the medieval Arab historian Ibn Arab Sheikh. In December 2007, it was announced that Russian researchers had discovered important ancient remains of previously unknown culture beneath the lake. According to reports, Russian archaeologists discovered traces of a large city with an area of several square kilometers. In other words, it was a metropolis in its time. We also found Scythian burial mounds, eroded by waves over the centuries, and numerous well-preserved artifacts. Bronze battle axes, arrowheads, self-sharpening daggers, objects discarded by smiths, casting molds, and a faceted gold bar, which was a monetary unit of the time. In August of 2014, Russian news outlets published the story that divers from Tomsk State University had located another previously unknown ancient settlement beneath the lake, along with 200 artifacts. Perhaps the most fascinating find was a piece of large ceramic pot which had a stamp on it written in Armenian and Syrian scripts. This find may have been supporting evidence for the story that an Armenian monastery existed on this site in medieval times. According to Dmitry Gorn, who led the diving team, the inscribed pot fragment was truly unique. He added, "Experts are now working on the identification of the writings of the stamps, but it's supposed to be Armenian Syrian script. If this proves to be correct, it will be further evidence that there was an Armenian monastery on Issyk-Kul in the 14th century, where, according to the legends, relics of Matthew were stored." There is indeed a tradition that a monastery on this remote lake was the last resting place of Evangelist St. Matthew, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus. Intriguingly, when the Russian traveller P.P. Semenov was in Venice in the 1850s, he came upon a copy of the Catalan Atlas from 1375. In this work he found a drawing of a lakeside monastery with the caption, The spot is named Issyk. Here is a monastery of Armenian Brethren, which is rumored to possess the relics of St. Matthew the Apostle and Evangelist. The extraordinary Catalan Atlas is a perpetual calendar and thematic representation of the known world produced by the Mallorcan Cartographic School. The creation of the